So here we have an example of a lesson of the language of meetings. The first thing we need to do in our lesson is actually have a review of the previous lesson, the topics of which were focusing on the point, types of questions, and getting clarification. Here we need to have a quick vocabulary review, depending on how much the students have studied. If there is need for some consolidation in this, then we may develop it to some role plays utilizing the target language from the lesson. When we are ready to start with a new material, we look at the title, and the title of today's lesson is What's the Idea? Here, the idea will be to elicit ideas, managing interruptions, asking for, giving and commenting on opinions. What we need at this point is a lesson structure. How can we make this work? Well, look at the introduction here. At the beginning of the lesson, we can discuss the topic of the lesson. We can discuss if the students have had experience, be it good or bad, in these certain areas. At this point, we can proceed to a more theoretical idea of a meeting, and then ask some questions and generate some ideas on how they would structure these things. Obviously, for the language of meetings, an important tool is the use of DVD. At this point, we watch the DVD, then we have some post-viewing discussions and answer questions regarding it. This gives the students to not only see the meeting in progress, but it also gives the opportunity to see the language in use. At this point, we have more focus on the target language. This would begin with some listening exercises. Again, it gives them the chance to hear the target language in context. Following this point, we have discussion about the target language. At this point, we can actually read the phrases out of context, and we can use this opportunity to perhaps discuss any grammatical issues that may arise from it, or perhaps pronunciation issues. The next point, and one of the most important points, is putting the target language into practice. What we have here is the role play, but I'm going to come back to that in a few moments to give you some more details. The last part of our lesson structure is a roundup and feedback. Here we can evaluate what's been done, what's been covered in the entire lesson. Of course, here we can give feedback to the students, to give them feedback on their progress and their performance in the role plays. Of course, the last thing would be to give any necessary homework to follow on to the next lesson. Now, I just want to go back a moment to look at what exactly a role play or meeting practice entails. The first thing we do is define the roles. Now, if you're in a large group, perhaps you need to divide students off into groups. Let's imagine you have two people in the group, student A and student B, no problem. At this point, we need to define a topic for the role play. The example we have here is abolishing company dress code. At this point, we reiterate the target language, so the students know exactly what they have to produce in the role play. Here, we define the structure. For example, student A would need to ask for an opinion, student B would need to give an opinion, student A comment on an opinion, and so forth. At this point, we try the role play out, the teacher giving constant feedback as they go along. Hopefully the students will use as much of the target language as possible and not restrict themselves to only one or two different phrases. The last part of this is give them immediate feedback and evaluation. So that's essentially how we want to work the lesson regarding meetings.